after my mom died, I thought the hardest part of my life was over. I was wrong. Because 3 days after her funeral, I found something that changed everything I thought I knew about my family. It started with something simple. Cleaning. The house felt empty without her. Too quiet. Every corner carried memories, her voice, her laughter, even the way she used to call my name from the kitchen. I couldn't stay still. So I decided to clean her room. At first, it was normal. Folding clothes, sorting old things, trying not to cry every 5 minutes. Then I moved the dresser. It was heavier than I expected, like it didn't want to be moved, like something was holding it back. And that's when I saw it. Behind the mirror, a small, folded piece of paper hidden carefully, almost like it was never meant to be found. My heart started beating faster. I don't know why, but something about it felt wrong. Not scary exactly, just important. I picked it up slowly, my fingers trembling slightly. It was old, the edges worn, the fold lines deep, like it had been opened and closed many times before. I stared at it for a few seconds before opening it. Something inside me didn't want to read it, but I did anyway. And the moment I saw the handwriting, my breath caught. It was my dad's. He died 10 years ago, and yet here he was, talking to me again. I sat down on the bed without realizing it, my eyes locked on the first line. I know she isn't mine, but I will love her as my own. Everything went silent, the room, my thoughts, even my breathing. I read it again, slowly, carefully. I know she isn't mine. My hands started shaking. What did that mean? Who wasn't his? There was only one she in this story. Me. My chest tightened. No, no, that's not possible, I whispered to myself. My dad wasn't my real dad. That didn't make sense. He raised me. He taught me everything. He was there for every birthday, every school event, every moment that mattered. He was my dad. But the letter didn't stop there. I have known the truth since the day she was born, but I chose to stay. I chose to love her because love is not about blood. It's about choice. Tears filled my eyes instantly. Even now, even after everything, he still chose me. But that wasn't the part that scared me. The next line did. If she ever finds this letter, there is something she must know. My heartbeat sped up again. Something she must know. I kept reading. There is a man. He knows the truth. He knows everything. His number is on the back of this letter. I froze. A man? Who man? Why would Dad leave something like this hidden instead of telling me directly? My hands felt cold as I slowly flipped the paper, and there it was, a phone number, written clearly, carefully, like it was meant to be used. I stared at those numbers for what felt like forever, my mind racing with questions. Who was he? Why did he know the truth? And the most terrifying question of all, what truth had my parents been hiding from me my entire life? I looked around the room again. Everything suddenly felt different. This wasn't just my mom's room anymore. It was a place full of secrets. And I had just opened the first one. I looked back down at the number, and for the first time in my life, I felt afraid to know the truth. I didn't call the number. Not immediately. I just sat there staring at it. The room felt different now, heavier, like the air itself had changed after reading that letter. My hands were still holding the paper, but my mind was somewhere else, stuck between disbelief and fear. This couldn't be real. My whole life, everything I believed about my family, could it all be a lie? I stood up slowly and began pacing the room, back and forth, again and again. Think, I whispered to myself. Just think. But there was nothing to think about. Only questions. Too many questions. Why didn't Mom ever tell me? Why didn't Dad say anything before he died? And who was this man? I looked at the letter again. Dad's words echoed in my head. He knows your name. He knows the truth. That line wouldn't leave me alone. How could a stranger know my name? Unless he wasn't a stranger. A chill ran down my spine. I quickly shook my head. No, don't jump to conclusions, but deep inside, I already felt it. This wasn't random. This was something that had been waiting. For a long time, I walked out of the room and into the hallway. Everything felt quiet, too quiet. This house, the same house I grew up in, suddenly felt unfamiliar, like I didn't fully belong here anymore. I grabbed my phone from the table, my fingers hovered over the screen. All I had to do was dial. That's it. Just a few numbers, and I would get answers. But at what cost? What if the truth was worse than I imagined? What if it changed everything? What if I wasn't ready? I sat down on the couch, holding my head in my hands. I don't need to do this, I told myself. I can just ignore it. But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't true, because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. That letter had already changed everything. Whether I made the call or not, my life wasn't the same anymore. I looked at the phone again. The number felt like a door. On one side, the life I knew, safe, familiar. On the other, the unknown, truth, secrets, pain. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Dad's voice echoed in my mind again. Love is not about blood. It's about choice. If that was true, then no matter what I found out, he was still my father. Nothing could change that. That thought gave me just enough strength. Slowly, I unlocked my phone, opened the dial pad, and started typing the number. One digit at a time, my heart pounded with each tap. When I finished, my finger froze over the call button. This was it. No turning back after this. I hesitated for a few seconds, then whispered quietly, I need to know, and pressed call. The phone rang. Once, twice, three times. Each ring felt longer than the last. My chest tightened. My breath slowed. And then the call connected. A voice answered. Calm, steady. And before I could even say a word, he said my name. I froze. The moment he said my name, everything inside me stopped. Not a hello, not a who is this, just my name, clear, calm, certain. For a second, I couldn't breathe. My throat went dry and my fingers tightened around the phone. How did he know? Hello, he said again, his voice steady, almost like he already knew I was there, just unable to speak. My voice cracked. I swallowed hard. How do you know my name? There was a small pause on the other end, not awkward, not confused, prepared. I've been waiting for this call, he said quietly. My heart dropped. Waiting. That word echoed in my head again and again. How long? I asked. Another pause. A long time. A chill ran through my body. This wasn't normal. Nothing about this was normal. I stood up and started pacing again, trying to stay grounded. Who are you? I asked, this time more firmly. The line stayed silent for a moment, like he was choosing his words carefully. That's not something I can explain in a few seconds, he finally said. Frustration rose inside me. I think you owe me an explanation, I snapped. I found a letter. My dad wrote it. He said you know the truth. So stop talking in riddles and just tell me. My voice was shaking, but I didn't care anymore. I needed answers. I understand, he said softly. And you're right. That caught me off guard. I do owe you the truth. For a moment, I felt a small sense of relief. Finally. But then he added, but not like this. My grip tightened again. What do you mean, not like this? My chest tightened. Then what? You want me to just trust you? Meet you somewhere? You expect me to just walk into this blindly? No, he said calmly. I expect you to be careful. That answer, it didn't calm me down. It made everything worse. I stopped pacing and stood still. Then give me something, I said. Anything. Just tell me one thing. Why me? There was silence again, longer this time, heavier. And when he finally spoke, his voice had changed, softer, more serious. Because your life isn't what you think it is, my heart started racing again. I already figured that out, I said quietly. No, he replied. You've only seen the surface. A cold feeling spread through my chest. There's more, he continued. Much more. I closed my eyes for a second, trying to process everything. How do I know you're telling the truth? I asked. You don't, he said honestly. That answer surprised me. But if you want answers, he added, you'll have to take that risk. Risk. That word hit hard. I looked down at the letter still in my hand. Dad trusted this man enough to leave his number. That had to mean something, right? I'm not asking you to trust me completely, the man continued. Just enough to meet me. My heart pounded again. Where? Then said, I'll send you the location. I hesitated. This was it. The moment everything would move forward or stop forever. What happens if I don't come? I asked quietly. There was a long silence, and then he said something that made my blood run cold. Then you'll spend the rest of your life wondering who you really are. I swallowed hard. That was the truth, and we both knew it. Okay, I said finally. Okay, I'll come. A small pause, then he exhaled softly. Good, he said. The call ended soon after, and just like that, I had agreed to meet the man who knew the truth about my life. I stared at my phone for a long moment, my reflection faintly visible on the screen. For the first time, I didn't recognize the person looking back at me. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a minute. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard his voice again, calm, steady, like he knew everything about me. I've been waiting for this call. Those words wouldn't leave my head. Who waits years for a call like that? And why me? I sat on my bed, the letter still in my hand. I must have read it at least 10 times that night. Every word felt heavier now. Every sentence like a clue I had missed before. My dad knew, he knew the truth, and he chose silence, not because he didn't care, but because he was protecting me. That realization hurt more than anything, because if he felt the need to protect me, then whatever truth I was about to face, it wasn't going to be easy. Morning came slowly. The sunlight didn't feel warm. It felt cold, distant, like everything else. My phone buzzed. A message from him. Just an address. No explanation. No extra words. Simple. Direct, like this was something already decided. I stared at the location for a long time. It wasn't too far. About 30 minutes away. Close enough to go, far enough to feel like a different world. I got ready slowly. Every movement felt heavier than usual. Putting on clothes, tying my shoes, even looking at myself in the mirror. I stopped for a second and stared, really stared. My face, my eyes. Who did I look like? My dad or him? That thought made my stomach twist. I quickly looked away. I'm still me, I whispered. But for the first time, I wasn't completely sure. The drive there felt longer than it should have been. Every red light, every turn, every second felt stretched. My mind kept running in circles. What if he's lying? What if this is all some kind of mistake? What if I'm about to ruin everything I believe in? I gripped the steering wheel tighter. No, I said under my breath. I need to know. The closer I got, the quieter everything felt. Even the city noise seemed to fade. Until finally, I arrived. I parked the car but didn't get out immediately. I just sat there, looking at the building in front of me. It looked normal. Too normal. Like nothing life changing was supposed to happen there. But I knew better, because inside was a man who knew the truth about my life. My hands felt cold. My heart started pounding again. This was it. No more imagining. No more wondering. Just the truth. I reached for the door handle, then stopped. A sudden thought hit me. What if this changes everything? What if after today, I can't go back to the life I had before? I closed my eyes for a second, and then I remembered Dad's words. Love is not about blood, it's about choice. No matter what happens, that wouldn't change. He was still my father. Nothing could take that away. That thought gave me just enough courage. I opened the car door, stepped out, and slowly walked toward the entrance. Each step felt heavier than the last, my heartbeat echoing in my ears. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. Then I saw him, sitting by the window, waiting, like he always knew I would come. I stopped walking for a second. I couldn't move. He was just sitting there, by the window, calm, still, waiting. Like this moment had already happened in his mind 1,000 times, and now it was finally real. He looked up. Our eyes met instantly, and something inside me shifted. I didn't know why, but it felt familiar, not in a comfortable way, in a way that made my chest tighten, like I was looking at someone I didn't know, but somehow a part of me recognized. You came, he said. His voice was exactly the same as on the phone. Calm, controlled. I nodded slowly. Yeah, that was all I could say. He stood up, gesturing toward the chair in front of him. Sit. I walked forward, my legs feeling heavier with each step. Then I sat down. Now we were face to face, close enough to see every detail: his slightly gray hair, the lines on his face, and his eyes. His eyes stayed on me the entire time, studying me, like he was searching for something or recognizing something. I reached into my bag and placed the letter on the table between us. This, I said quietly, is why I'm here. His eyes dropped to the letter, and for the first time, his expression changed. A small crack in that calm mask: pain, regret, maybe even guilt. I remember this, he said softly. You should, I replied. It led me to you. Silence fell, heavy, uncomfortable. I leaned forward slightly. No more waiting, I said. No more half answers. Just tell me the truth. He took a deep breath, looked out the window for a second, then back at me. And in that moment, everything changed. The man who raised you, he said slowly, was not your biological father. My heart dropped, even though I already knew. Hearing it out loud made it real, permanent. I swallowed hard. I figured that much, I said quietly. What I want to know is, who is? He didn't answer immediately. He just looked at me deeply, carefully, like this was the moment that would change everything. And then he said it. I am. My world stopped completely. No sound, no movement, nothing. Just those two words. I am. I stared at him, trying to process it, trying to reject it. No, I shook my head immediately. No, that's not possible. It is, he said calmly. I stood up suddenly, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. People around us turned to look, but I didn't care. This doesn't make any sense, I said. If you were my father, then where were you? My whole life, while someone else raised me. While my dad loved me like his own, he didn't react with anger. He didn't defend himself immediately. He just watched me with something heavy in his eyes. I was there, he said quietly. I froze. What? I was always there, he repeated. That doesn't mean anything, I snapped. It does, he said. You just don't know the full story yet. My chest tightened again. Then, tell me. Silence. Then he leaned forward slightly, his voice lower now, more serious. The truth is, your mother and I. He paused, like the words themselves were difficult to say. We made a mistake. My heart started racing again. A mistake? He nodded slowly. It wasn't supposed to happen. He continued, and when she found out she was pregnant, everything changed. I couldn't breathe properly. She chose the man who raised you, he said. Those words hit hard. She chose a stable life, a safe future for you. Tears filled my eyes. And you? I asked quietly. He looked at me, and for the first time, there was something darker in his expression. I didn't have a choice. A chill ran down my spine. What do you mean? He held my gaze and said something that made everything feel even more dangerous. Because if I stayed, He paused. It would have destroyed everything. My heart skipped a beat. What are you talking about? He didn't answer immediately. And in that silence, I felt it. There was more, much more, a deeper truth, a darker secret, and I wasn't ready for it. He leaned closer and said quietly, "You don't know the real story about your mother." My heart started pounding harder. The way he said it, "You don't know the real story about your mother." Something about those words felt wrong, dangerous. I slowly sat back down. My legs felt weak. "What are you talking about?" I asked, my voice quieter now. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at me like he was trying to decide how much I could handle. Then he spoke. "Your mother didn't just choose a different life," he said slowly. "She was forced into it." My chest tightened. Forced? He nodded. "Yes." I shook my head. "No, that's not possible. My mom wasn't like that. She was strong. She made her own decisions." "I know," he said softly. "And that's exactly why this is hard to understand." A cold feeling spread through my body. "Then explain it," I said. He took a deep breath. "Back then, things were different," he began. "Your mother came from a family that cared deeply about reputation, about control." I frowned. "She wasn't allowed to make mistakes," he continued, "not publicly." My mind started connecting pieces I never noticed before. Mom rarely talked about her past. She never mentioned her family much. And whenever I asked, she would change the subject. At the time, I thought it was just normal. Now, it felt like something else. When she found out she was pregnant, he said her family panicked. My hands clenched slowly. They didn't want a scandal. They didn't want questions. So they made a decision for her. Byron, my breathing became heavier. What decision? He looked straight into my eyes. They arranged her marriage. Everything went silent again. Arranged marriage. To the man you knew as your father, he added. My mind spun. "So you're saying—" "Yes," he said quietly. He knew from the beginning. Tears filled my eyes instantly. Dad knew and still chose to stay, still chose to love me. That truth hit harder than anything else. "But that's not the part you don't know," the man said. My heart sank. "There's more? What else is there?" I asked slowly. He hesitated. And that hesitation, it scared me more than anything he had said so far. "The reason I couldn't stay," he said quietly, "wasn't just because of your mother's family." A chill ran down my spine. "Then why?" He leaned closer, his voice almost a whisper now, because I wasn't safe to be around. I froze. "What does that mean?" He looked away for a second, like he didn't want to say it, but he had to. "I was involved in things," he said slowly, "things that could have put both of you in danger." My chest tightened again. "Danger?" He nodded. "There were people, powerful people, who didn't want me connected to anyone, especially not a child." My mind struggled to process it. This wasn't just a family secret anymore. This was something bigger, something darker. "So you just disappeared?" I asked. "I didn't disappear," he said. "I was removed." That sentence sent a chill through my entire body. "Your mother begged me to stay away," he continued. "She believed it was the only way to keep you safe." All this time, she wasn't hiding the truth to hurt me. She was protecting me. "I watched from a distance," he said quietly. "I made sure you were okay, that you had a good life." I looked at him, my vision blurred. "You watched me?" He nodded. "Every birthday, every important moment, I was there, just not close enough for you to see." My heart ached. This was too much, too many truths at once, too many emotions. "And now?" I asked weakly. "Now," he said, "they're gone." I frowned. "Who?" He looked at me one last time and said something that made everything even more terrifying. "The people who kept me away." Silence, heavy, unreal. "And that means," he continued slowly, You're not in danger anymore. My heart pounded again, not in fear this time, but in realization. This wasn't just about finding out who I was. It was about understanding why my entire life had been built on silence. I couldn't speak. Everything he said, it was too much, too fast, too heavy. I just sat there staring at the table, trying to breathe properly. My mind felt like it was breaking apart. Every memory, every moment, every belief I had about my life was shifting, changing, cracking under the weight of the truth. My whole life, I whispered, my voice barely audible. He didn't interrupt, didn't try to explain. He just sat there quietly, letting me process everything. My whole life was built on a secret, I said louder this time. It wasn't a question, it was a realization. A painful one, yes, he said softly. That one word hurt more than anything. I closed my eyes. Tears slipped down my face without warning. I didn't try to stop them. I couldn't. I don't even know who I am anymore, I said. And for the first time, my voice truly broke, not from anger, not from fear, but from something deeper. Loss. He leaned forward slightly. You do, he said. I shook my head immediately. No, I don't. You're the same person you were yesterday, he continued. Nothing about you has changed. I looked up at him, frustration burning in my chest. That's easy for you to say, I snapped. You weren't the one living a lie. He didn't react defensively. He just nodded. You're right, he said. That response caught me off guard. I wasn't, he added quietly. Silence fell again, but this time it felt different, less tense, more real. I wiped my face slowly, trying to calm myself down. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. His answer came without hesitation. Because you deserve the truth. I let out a small, bitter laugh after all these years. Yes, he said, even if it's late, it still matters. I looked down at the letter again. Dad's words echoed in my mind. Love is not about blood, it's about choice. That line suddenly meant everything, because now I understood. He knew the truth and still chose me every single day. I had a father, I said quietly. The man nodded. I know. And he loved me, I continued. Yes, I looked up at him, my eyes steady now. He's still my dad. There was a small pause. Then he nodded again. He always will be. That answer, it mattered more than he probably realized, because I needed to hear that. I needed to know that this truth didn't erase everything else. Silence filled the space between us again, but this time it wasn't heavy. It was thoughtful, careful, real. So what happens now? I asked. That question hung in the air. He took a moment before answering. That depends on you, he said. On me? He leaned back slightly. I've told you the truth, he continued. Now you decide what you want to do with it. My heart tightened again. This was it, the choice. Accept him or walk away. I looked at him carefully. This man, my biological father, a stranger and yet not a stranger at all. I thought about Mom, her silence, her protection. I thought about Dad, his love, his sacrifice. And then I thought about myself, who I was and who I wanted to be. I took a deep breath and finally said, I need time. He nodded slowly. I understand. I stood up, my legs still slightly weak, but steadier than before. I'm not ready to decide anything yet, I added. That's okay, he said. I looked at him one last time. This wasn't the end, but it wasn't the beginning either. It was something in between, something uncertain, something real. And as I turned to walk away, I realized something important. This wasn't just about the past anymore. It was about what I chose next. I walked out of that place, but I didn't feel relieved. I didn't feel angry either. I just felt empty. Like something inside me had been opened and I didn't know how to close it again. The drive back home was quiet, no music, no thoughts. just silence. For the first time in my life, I didn't know what to believe. When I reached home, I didn't go inside immediately. I just sat in the car for a while, staring at the house. The same house I grew up in. The same place that now felt different. After a few minutes, I finally stepped out, walked inside, and everything felt the same. But I wasn't. I went straight to Mom's room again, slowly, carefully, like I was walking into a memory. The dresser was still slightly moved, the mirror still slightly tilted, like it was waiting for me to come back. I sat down on the bed and looked around. This was your secret, I whispered softly, not with anger, not with blame, but with understanding. For the first time, I understood why she stayed silent, why she hid the truth, why she chose the life she did. Because it wasn't just about her, it was about me. I lay back slowly, staring at the ceiling. Tears filled my eyes again, but this time they felt different, softer, lighter, like something inside me was finally settling. After a few moments, I sat up again. My eyes moved toward the dresser. Something felt off. I don't know why. Maybe instinct, maybe curiosity. I stood up and walked toward it. This time, I didn't just look behind the mirror. I checked inside the drawers, one by one, clothes, old papers, nothing unusual. Until the bottom drawer. It felt slightly stuck. I pulled harder, and it opened with a soft sound. Inside, there was a small box. Hidden beneath everything else, my heart started beating faster again. Another secret? Slowly, I picked it up, opened it, and froze. Inside the box was another letter, but this one wasn't from my dad. It was from Mom. My hands started shaking as I unfolded it, her handwriting soft, familiar, and the first line made my breath stop. If you're reading this, it means you found the truth. Tears filled my eyes instantly. I kept reading. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you myself, not because I didn't trust you, but because I was afraid. Afraid, that word hit deep. I wanted you to grow up with love, not confusion, with peace, not fear. My chest tightened. I made choices that weren't easy, and I carried that weight every single day. I wiped my tears quickly, trying to keep reading. But there's one thing you need to remember, she wrote. No matter where you come from or who you are, my heart slowed, waiting. You were always loved. A tear slipped down my cheek. And then the final line, the one that changed everything. The man you met is part of your past. I held my breath, but the man who raised you, a pause, is your real father in every way that matters. I closed my eyes, tears falling freely now, because deep down, I already knew that. And finally, I smiled, not because everything was okay, but because now I understood. The truth didn't break me. It didn't destroy my life. It just showed me something I never realized before. Family is not about blood. It's about love. And that was something I had all along.